Yes. Well, hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whichever one it is for you. My name is Caleb. I'm a history teacher and educator, love reading books and watching movies and just really engaging with great stories, and this is definitely one of those. I was introduced to Master and Commander following the movie release. I watched that back in high school, I think it was, and it was incredible. Russell Crowe did an amazing job with the action, the acting, the world building. Everything was just incredible with that series. And so I found out it was a book series and I started to read it. Now, this will be pretty spoiler free, just so you know. But a memory I have about this series getting is because I, out of high school, worked for my dad in logging, doing salvage logging, cutting down dead and dying trees, keeping the forests healthy, something we should definitely keep doing. And so every week I would get paid $400. I got paid $10 an hour, and I would take about $30. This will tell you how cheap things were back then. I would take about $30, $40 maybe, and I would go and I would buy one book on Friday. I would fill up my car with gas. I would buy a pizza, and I would go get a blended coffee, a Frappuccino or something like that. All of that for about $30. It was a great weekend. Read one book, get back into work. It was fantastic. And so I have a lot of memories of getting these books. I would get almost the entire series over the course of the summer and reading every single one within that week and just loving it more and more and more. Now, with time, I thought back on it. I was just like, I haven't read this series for a long time and I've changed and grown since. And so is it as good as I remember? And as I said in the very beginning, yes, in fact, it's even better than I remember, mainly because now I engage with characters in a more deep understanding of what the author is trying to convey, and just the humor, the details, everything just sings in this series. For a naval series during the Napoleonic era, this is probably the holy grail when it comes to it. Yes, you have others, the Horatio Hornblow series and some of Cromwell's Sharp series and stuff, but Patrick O'Brian does something in this series with the clarity of his writing, the detail of his characters, and just honestly the deeply humorous, subtle conversations that happen. This is a book series that by picking it up and as an older adult, it's absolutely fantastic. If you've never read it, I highly recommend it, and I want to explain a few reasons why. This book series, which is fully known as the Aubrey Maturin series, but people just know it as the Master and Commander series because that's the name of the first book, it is deeply historic and deeply character-driven. Some of the most interesting characters that are written that across multiple books develop in such a fascinating way, some of them not developing as much as you want, and some of them going through amazing changes and then relapses. Amazing conversations that have to do with society and characters and interactions and personalities and friendship and marriage. All of these things under the context of the Napoleonic era naval warfare. You really follow two main characters. You have Jack Aubrey, who Russell Crowe's character plays in Master and Commander. That book is actually based off of like 4 or 5 different books put together. But Jack Aubrey is a lieutenant who gets his commission to become a commander in the very beginning of this book. So he's not a captain, he's a commander. So he has a smaller ship that he is in charge of and is sailing. He's the master and commander. And all the adventures that entails, he goes on to have a very amazing string of luck with capturing prizes and fighting a variety of actions across the course of a couple years. The second character you have, and Jack Aubrey is a very bombastic personality who's very larger than life in a lot of ways. The second character is Stephen Maturin, a very, very eccentric surgeon who, when you read him as a surface level character, he's interesting, but there's just like, you feel like, okay, yeah, he's kind of stagnant. But when you deeply look at the conversations, at the humor, at the context, and ultimately the personality and the mind of this character, he is one of the most interesting characters that I have read in fiction. Historical fiction, fantasy, anything. I would say Stephen Maturin is up there as one of my favorite characters. In fact, if I ever do a character list of my favorite characters to read, Jack Aubrey's good. Every chapter with Stephen Maturin is incredible, whether it's about him being a naval surgeon, him having a variety of other activities, or his romantic pursuits, let's just say. Very human character, I guess, would be a great way to say it. You can't go wrong with either one of these characters. Something else that's really cool is the fact that these two characters that are deeply different are bonded over a love of music that they are able to engage with and really celebrate. And it does show how music, I know it's fiction, but it does show how music can bring people together who are very different, who never would have been brought together otherwise. It also should be noted that the ships themselves almost have a character that comes to play in this, and the sailors that you meet along the way, their personalities, their quirks, they are deeply central to this story and really do drive some interesting narratives along the way. Now, when it comes to plot, obviously this is set during the Napoleonic era, England versus France, and all the allies that come along the way. And at many times you have England being on the back foot trying to respond. But you hear references to characters like Earl of St. Vincent. You have Admiral Nelson. You have the certain campaigns that are referenced constantly, and everything that is happening in this series with naval actions and these characters happens along the periphery of all these actual deep historical things, which gives this a very authentic nature of a series. So you have the entire authentic plot that is driving this story. Some of the themes that come into this, you do have conversations about the time of monarchy versus democracy, with the legacy of the Reign of Terror, with the driving conversations of religious differences, of Protestant versus Catholic. And you have these characters that are wrapped up in this in a time where you are trying to survive, achieve personal gain, and ultimately serve your nation. One deep thing about this series, I think it's about 18 books long, is the consequences of your actions. I will say Jack Aubrey, his character, he has served a time where he was before the mast, meaning he served as a regular seaman. So he understands the seaman, the regular sailor, and what drives them. And so his actions towards them really brings loyalty. But some of the things that happen, especially with his luck and his, let's just say, bad decisions ashore, really have consequences down the line that really deeply impact him. And same with Stephen Maturin, some of the decisions that he makes and the characters and his growth in his, let's just say, his side pursuits, freedom, espionage, all those things that entail. Just read the series. You'll see that as you go on, these characters slowly develop in a very, very positive way. Now, characters and plot and world building are all amazing, but this is a historical fiction naval series, and the ship battles are incredible. You feel like you're on these ships facing a broadside from an enemy ship, and the creative strategies that come about, it makes you feel like you could sail, but at the same time make you realize that there's no way that you could just jump on and sail one of these ships, and that it takes years to learn how to captain and command these ships and effectively be able to fight these. And the twists and turns along the way, you're rooting for these characters the entire way, and you know that it's going to end positively, but let's just say some of the consequences, like I said, don't have as positive of elements. Ultimately, the strength of this book series, especially in the first book, Master and Commander, is in its characters, in its humor, in its narrative, and the world and the experiences that you have along the way with these characters. Some of the cons, it is an older style that it's written in. It feels like a period piece. It feels reminiscent of Jane Austen or of Mary Shelley. And that's something that can be deeply engaging, but it's something that can maybe hold you back a little bit. But the more you read it with British humor and that era in mind, it pulls you in, especially with some of the smart details that you just missed maybe on the first read through. But revisiting it, completely sold on the series. This is an easy A series. Some books dip lower, some books dip higher, but overall I would say this is easily an A series. And if you have never read the Aubrey Maturin Master and Commander series, you should please go and read it. Do yourself a favor. Even if you don't like historical fiction as much, you should at least give this book a chance. Well, that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this. Please like, comment, subscribe. I don't do a lot of these, but when I do, I want to try to get them out and try to get subscriber count up and just engage with you. I love engaging with any comments that come in. And yeah, God bless. Have an amazing day. Go watch a good movie, read a good story. Bye-bye.